We are taught from a young age that the grizzly is the ultimate shadow of the wilderness, 1,000 pounds of muscle, claw, and instinct, a creature that demands fear, not friendship. But in the rugged mountains of Montana, a story emerged that shattered every stereotype we ever held. It's the story of a man who looked into the eyes of a monster and found a brother. This isn't a story about taming the wild. It's about a bond so deep that it reached across the dining table, into the swimming pool, and even to the altar of a wedding. This is the life of Casey Anderson and his best friend, Brutus. The story begins in 2002, in a world far removed from the freedom of the forest. Brutus was born in a captive breeding facility that had run out of space. He was a cub with no future, facing a choice between a life in a cramped, concrete cage or being euthanized before he ever saw a mountain. That was until Casey Anderson, a naturalist with a lifelong passion for wildlife, walked into his life. Casey saw something in the tiny, fuzzy cub that no one else did. He decided right then that he wouldn't just save Brutus, he would give him a life worth living. Casey brought Brutus home to Montana. As Brutus grew, so did their connection. He and Casey were inseparable. They swam together in the cold mountain lakes, wrestled in the grass, and shared quiet moments under the big Montana sky. Brutus was growing into a 900-pound giant, but in his mind, he was still that little cub who relied on Casey for everything. He learned to communicate not through roars, but through a series of huffs, nudges, and a level of eye contact that felt eerily human. In 2008, the world witnessed a moment that remains one of the most viral images in the history of human-animal relations. Casey Anderson was getting married to actress Missy Pyle. When it came time to choose a best man, the person to stand by his side during the most important moment of his life, Casey didn't look to his human friends. He looked to the 900-pound grizzly in his backyard. Brutus didn't just attend the wedding. He sat at the feast. He had his own place at the table, sitting upright like a true gentleman, sharing a meal and even a bit of the wedding cake. He was a symbol of Casey's life, a testament that love and trust are more powerful than any fence or fear. On Thanksgiving, Brutus would join the family for dinner, sitting at a specially reinforced table. He loved marshmallows, swimming, and most of all, he loved Casey. If Casey was feeling down or stressed, Brutus would sense it immediately. He would approach with a gentle nudge, offering a massive paw or a heavy head to rest on Casey's shoulder. It was a level of empathy that defied biological explanation. Brutus wasn't tame. He was a wild animal who made a conscious choice every single day to be kind. Through Brutus, Casey showed the world that grizzlies are far more complex than we ever imagined. Brutus displayed a sense of humor, a sense of grief, and a profound loyalty. He helped educate millions of people about the importance of protecting his wild cousins. He wasn't a circus act, he was an ambassador. He proved that when we treat the wild with respect instead of fear, the wild can reach back and touch our lives in ways that change us forever. For nearly 2 decades, Casey and Brutus were a fixture of the Montana wilderness. A time, even for a legend, eventually runs out. In 2021, at the age of 19, Brutus peacefully passed away. For Casey, it was the loss of a limb, a part of his very soul. He wrote a tribute that moved millions to tears, describing Brutus as his best friend, his brother, and his greatest teacher. The silence in the Montana mountains felt heavier without the sound of Brutus's deep huffs and the sight of his massive silhouette against the sunset. Brutus is gone, but his message remains etched in the hearts of everyone who heard his story. He taught us that the world is a much smaller place when we build bridges instead of walls. He showed us that a 900-pound predator can have the heart of a poet. And most importantly, he reminded us that no matter how different we may seem, we all share the same need for a place to belong and a friend to walk beside us. Casey and Brutus didn't just make history. They made us realize that the wildest thing about nature isn't its ferocity, it's its capacity to love. There are thousands more stories waiting to be told in nature. Subscribe to Wild Story and don't miss the real-life stories of our animal friends.